All right, movie review time here on Lights Camera Barstool, talking Dumb Money, the GameStop movie, I guess we'll call it, the GameStop stock trading Robin Hood movie. Jeff D. Lowe, Ken Jack,
Yo.
Gooch. Make sure on YouTube you subscribe to the channel. Always a big help for us, and like the video as well. Leave a comment below what you thought about the movie Dumb Money, starring Paul Dano, aka the Riddler. Among many other things. In the lead role is Keith Gill, Shailene Woodley, Seth Rogen, Pete Davidson, Sebastian Stan, America Ferrara, Dane DeHaan in a very funny role, by the way, with a rat tail ponytail. Nick Offerman, Vincent D'Onofrio, Anthony Ramos, a bunch of other people that you may recognize, smaller cameo roles.
Our boss.
But yeah, Dumb Money. A very quick turnaround on this. This is something that happened 3 years ago during COVID. Every day, people flip the script on Wall Street. It's an annoying synopsis. And get rich by turning GameStop into one of the world's hottest companies. In the middle of everything is Keith Gill, a regular guy who starts it all by sinking his life savings into the stock. When his social media posts, Reddit, YouTube, start blowing up, so do his life and the lives of everyone following him. As the stock tip becomes a movement, everyone gets wealthy until the billionaires fight back and both sides find their world turned upside down. Yes, true story. Dates back to very true story. I don't know if they changed much at all here, at least in terms of like the details, the financial. I don't think they really could. It's like so recent. That is the thing about these recent biopics. But basically, hedge funds, investors, etc. They shorted the GameStop stock, among other things as well. AMC actually part of that movement, if you don't remember. And then people online, mainly in Wall Street Bets, this guy Keith Gill on YouTube, they kind of went against that movement, started betting on GameStop, and then took a shitload of money from a lot of rich people. A lot of rich people lost a lot of money on how much GameStop made, and amidst all that, there was the Robinhood app where people were using to invest in the stock. That got shut down. Our boss, Dave Portnoy's in the movie. Did not film it for the movie. They took it straight from him. I don't even think they asked for it, but that's a complete speculation.
Was that Dave?
Just took the video.
Was that Bradley Cooper?
Oh, nice.
Yes. They swapped out. They did swap out Vlad, the guy who co-founded Robinhood, with Sebastian Stan, who was playing him in the movie. But yeah, then they shut that app down mid-training. It's a crazy story. Very interesting documentary exists, by the way. There is a documentary. I forget where it's streamed, but I watched it on a flight. Very interesting if you don't know the details of it or forget. Directed by Craig Gillespie, who very recently did the Cruella movie, but also did I, Tonya, Lars and the Real Girl. Dumb Money, it's got decent rating around Tomatoes, 84%. From critics, audiences seemed, I guess, to enjoy it a little bit as well. It's not fully wide yet. I thought it was fine. Like it's not The Big Short by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't try to be The Big Short, but it definitely tries to have a more relatable vibe than be some sort of stuffy like finance movie, right? Like it's not trying to be like a
margin
true,
call.
Margin call, or like even like a Social Networky thing. It's definitely leaning more towards The Big Short, and they do a pretty good job at explaining things, not in quite a nuanced way, but it's fine. I don't know. I don't know if it's a thing that might be better if they would have made it a few years from now, if they would have maybe fictionalized it. The thing that stuck out the most to me is, can you imagine watching this in 20 years or 25 years and people wearing masks and you may not really know COVID? That is such a weird thing that like the more we talk about events that happened during COVID and how they're translated into movies, like is that going to be lost on people? Like it's a thing that the immediate thing that popped in my head when you saw a couple characters wearing masks. It's like, I wonder if like when you watch this 30 years, when you show your like if your kid watches the movie, it's like why is he doing that? Like I wonder if that's a thing that people contemplate keeping in a movie, taking out. I don't know. It's a kind of an irrelevant point, but just something that popped in my head. I thought this was absolutely fine. I don't think it's bad. I think it's funny in spots. I think it's definitely above average. I gave it a 79. I think it's solid acting, funny at times. I thought Pete Davidson was pretty funny, actually. Yeah, Dumb Money, 79 out of 100.
Pete Davidson was kind of a surprise because based on the trailers, I was like, oh, he's going to be the most insufferable character of all time. But he actually, he was pretty measured, I think. You know what I mean? There's good dosage. I echo a lot of what you said. Where like there's nothing that separates this from like the pack in a major way to like being like you were saying like a Big Short is like I think as far as financial like crimes, whatever you want to say, like that sort of movie, like that's the gold standard. I don't think it's anywhere close to that. But for what it's supposed to be, which is like this isn't really like the housing crisis. You know what I mean? It is more of like a meme, funny, like outlier, strange thing, and not as like mega serious. So I think that they did a good job with that, sort of towing the line there, making sure that everything is digestible, which is something I say it like anytime I review a movie, like being able, especially with finance or anything complicated, you need it to be dumbed down enough where we can understand it without having to think too hard. Especially with a movie that's more of a comedy leaning, and I think they did a good job here. I really liked pretty much like every cast. I don't think there's a cast member here I was watching where I was like, oh, this guy's out of place. This guy shouldn't be playing this guy. This shouldn't here. I think they're all good. I think everyone was solid.
Yeah.
Jupsy was good. Not his best movie, I think, by any stretch. And you could go like literally any other movie he's had recently. I think I would say I like more. But it's fun. It's a solid time. A movie I would say like, hey, you have a date you want to go watch this. You have a movie. Hey, you want to see a movie in a theater right now? Go see this. Don't go watch The Nun 2. Don't go watch almost anything else that's in a theater right now.
There really is nothing else.
Yeah, definitely go watch this. You won't be like disappointed, but I don't think you're going to have your expectations exceeded at any point. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed how it could have felt like it was going to be longer while I was watching it. And I was like, oh, they wrapped it up nice. And they've not. You think it was too long?
I think it was. And it's my least favorite criticism about movies, but
it's
I do
like 100
think
minutes.
I think this is like it's really only 100. It felt about 30 minutes too long.
I was gonna say I think we'll
definitely get into that and get more into cons. I think there's two big cons that stick out. One is maybe not fair, but yeah.
What
would you rate it?
I'd be around like a 75.
Okay,
like just dead even, definitely buttered. Nothing exceptional. Not putting salt on this. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm at let's go 78, right in between you all. I'm in between that 75 to 80 area. It does feel like there was maybe a movie here that could have been better. It felt like it needed to be cleaned up a little bit more. And maybe that's just because the event was so recent that the dust hasn't been able to settle on this. And you're not really able to tell. It almost felt like you couldn't tell the complete story of it yet. I think there's too many characters. I think that was a big issue. But outside of that, yeah, no, it's fun. It's paced well enough. Like Kinjack was saying, anytime you do any movie on like these complicated topics, or not even complicated, just stuff that people in the general public really aren't, accustomed to, you have to be very careful in how you go about it and make sure that people understand. I do think they did that very well here. Paul Dano as a leading man, finally playing just not a weirdo. Like, it's kind of nice to see Paul Dano be like this endearing character, like
a normal
very
dude.
charismatic. Yeah, he played it well.
Let's get into cons then. Pros. I think oddly, I'm also going to bring up his role in cons as well. But let's bring it up in pros. Like, I do think like I was like, man, there's so many more things I could see him doing now. I know he's a great actor, but you're right. You're so, I guess, you're so trained to think of him in just these fucking weirdo roles, but there's so much more he can do.
Yeah, he's like charming. Like he's a charming guy. Like he's a guy in class that you maybe don't talk to very often, but every time you talk to him, you're like, I really like that guy. Like he's got that vibe to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, it's funny. You can say a lot of pros and then also bring them up in cons. And I there's a couple things. I think I like that they hopped around with the characters. Like, I do like that. Like, I think that was needed. I think if you just focused on one the whole time, it might be tough to pull it off, because they definitely wanted to go for a funnier vibe. Because I just don't think this could be like a Social Network-y, focused just on Keith Gill. I mean, what he did was fascinating, but what he also did was he was sitting on YouTube the whole time. Like, it would have been a very tough thing to just truly follow him. I mean, again, it was during COVID. Again, if you watch the documentary, you'll see like they did a pretty good job at trying to spice it up a little bit, because it was definitely very interesting and it got heated, but also it's like The Big Short of Social Network. They could have done an incredibly boring movie and they avoided doing that. But I like they kind of hopped around, gave some different perspectives on it. I think they could have even leaned a little more heavily into it too. Like, I went and saw it with someone who wasn't very aware of the story, and they said to me, they were like, I mean, it's actually like, this is going to be a common thing. It's my girlfriend's grandmother. Oh, I'm just going to be going to movies every Friday with my girlfriend's grandmother. She bowed out on The Creator, by the way, though.
Oh, boo. Not a real beater.
Sci-fi person.
Not a real beater.
I could tell, though, that she didn't get as much from the movie, how much like people were pretty fucked over by the Robin Hood. Like, I think the Robin Hood thing could have been like maybe a little more intense. Like, it was insane what they did. Like, it was just crazy. Like, it was so corrupt. But again, I do like that they hopped around. Like, I think they did a good job at that, at kind of keeping you like, it's kind of like hitting you with quick punches throughout the movie, because it really could have been fucking boring.
Slog.
Like, really fucking boring. So I think the structure, I think Gillespie's very good at that. Like, he is very good at, like, I know you said it was like you felt it was a longer Gooch, but I think I'm with Kendrick. I felt pretty short, snappy. Like, you never lose your attention, which I think is especially impressive with something like this, right?
Yeah. No, it did never lose my attention.
Yeah, never bored. I would say that, like, it was also smart to attack this from multiple angles, because there are, like, we think about it from like our own personal angle, which is like, I don't think any of us were invested in it. We were all just kind of like watching from the sidelines. So like, that was our sort of view of it. But like, seeing all the different sort of factors, instead of just being like you're saying, like just focusing on one person, whether it be the industry or whether it be him, like just getting little bits of what everyone is going throughout that whole process is kind of cool. Again, it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the X factor would have been to bring this to that next level. But I don't even know if there needs to be that next level, because this wasn't, again, it's not meant to be like a Big Short. It's meant to be something like funnier, less serious. And that's just nothing wrong with that.
I think that's probably what would have taken it to the next level, is it's just be funnier, which is like a hard,
let's talk about the cons, because I think the pros are very simple. I think it's enjoyable, it's funny in spots, it's informative, it keeps you engaged. Like, I think the pros are very simple, but I think there's a couple things. You're right. It's like there's a few ways. I actually think I like that they hopped around a bunch of people, but I also think there might have been too many people. I think you're right. It's like there's maybe a few too many. Did we need the college girls, right?
That's
that
the one. That's the one where I was like, this doesn't make sense. It's also felt very just wedged in there for like the weird part where she just has her hand down her pants and they're going through the Robin Hood. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
It's funny because like I also think if you had leaned heavier into the Robin Hood side of things and how people got fucked on it, I think that many characters works. But I think it was kind of in this weird in between where you didn't lean heavily into it enough where it justified that many characters. I also think Paul Dano's character, I think I don't think he was wasted, but it's also like, damn, he's so good. It's like this in the leading role. Like, I wish, like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, it never quite, it finds its lane, but I don't think it's the perfect lane, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One of the weird things about Paul Dano is like, it's very difficult for me to see him as not, oh, that's Paul Dano. You know what I mean? And like, it's not a knock on him for being a bad actor. He's a great actor, but it's just like, he's so specific in the type of roles that I think like we know him for as an audience. And so like I don't think he needed to do more, but maybe like if you do something to make sure that you like more solidify him as this different sort of person. And I think they did a good job. Like, I wasn't watching him thinking like, oh, that's the fucking Riddler or whatever, or that there will be blood or any of those things. Like, maybe just something, if you give it a little more personality would be more helpful. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to think of other things that like maybe stuck out. Cause again, it was just like, it was all little things and all kind of little things that added up.
Minutia.
How did we feel about the, just the full blown meme montages throughout the movie? Because I did like that.
I think that adds like context that's needed. And I actually was worried about like, man, how into the weeds can you get with like, again, I was just watching the documentary if you don't know the story that well, and it really dives into like the memes and, you know, like the misspellings on Reddit and why things are a certain way. But I think they did a very good job here. It's kind of dipping back to like a pro of like peppering in so much of it that you kind of, even if you didn't understand it, you got the vibe. It's like this internet camaraderie of just like phrase, like you would do with like your friends or something. Like it just, it pushed through enough where I don't think you needed to fully understand like Reddit or TikTok or like those types of memes where you kind of understood what was happening. Which I think again, they did a good job on that.
And I thought they were funny too. I thought they did a good job with it, but I was the only one in my theater. My theater is about 50% full. The only one in my theater laughing at those memes. So I was like, is this just not working?
Maybe they were on Wall Street. Maybe they were on Wall Street bets and they knew it already.
No. They were Melvin Capital employees, and they were like, "Why do we have to be the bad guys?"
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know. I thought it was very solid, very enjoyable, but just didn't find that extra level. And I also it's not even a con here. I think, like, is there even an extra level to hit? Like, did this need more time to marinate? Did they need to maybe, like, because it is pretty by the book accurate. Like, I mean, they go through, like, maybe not like dialogue, but like the people involved, what happens to people, like maybe it needed a little more time and they could have, manipulated and changed it up a little bit. Like, there's a sentiment thing with when you edit and change what happens in real life. Like, obviously a lot of what happens in the social network didn't actually happen, but like those are things that are close to what happened or what would happen or fit along the personality traits of the people involved. Ironically, by the way, the Winklevoss twins are producers on this movie. But like, I do think this movie could have benefited from maybe a little more time and bending it a little bit, like bending it just a hair. But I think because it's been so recent, you kind of can't do that. Like you kind of need it to be more accurate. So it's that kind of do and don't where you're gonna hop on the opportunity because like this got announced as people were trying to buy, trying to hit buy on the Robinhood app. Like, this shit was announced while it was happening.
I think they could have maybe, and I don't think people would have been too upset about it if they even hammered home just how fucking evil these like corporate guys were.
Right.
Like, I don't think that ending moment really hit home hard enough. I didn't leave the theater like super fucking. I wish I kind of had just leave the theater fucking depressed, feeling hopeless. Like, I think that's what they were going for, and it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it definitely maybe needed more of a crescendo. Might be the wrong word, but just like a good.
Yeah, it's like holy fuck.
A good moment.
Yes, I think the speech at the end was supposed to be that moment, and it kind of was. But I think there's probably could have hammered it home just even a bit more. Like. Like Jeff said, the Robin Hood stuff kind of was just glossed over, and I think that probably was the most criminal thing in the whole movie, the whole saga.
Well, that's dumb money. I think definitely one of the better movies to come out in terms of being things based around the COVID times. That's for sure. Handled it pretty well and also in a funny manner. Will that age well? I don't know. But for now, I think pretty funny. Good, solid. I would definitely suggest people watch it, but doesn't quite hit the level of some of the better biopics, especially in this space of, more, I guess, and I don't mean complicated as in like socially complicated, but complicated in terms of like literally money and stuff and tech. I'd suggest it, but nothing that I think is going to blow anyone truly away. 79 for me.
75.
78. Wow.
Pretty close to numbers there.
We score the movies the same exact way. You guys ever think about that?
It's people always say that they're like, you guys have such similar scores. It's like, I don't know, we have the same taste in movies.
I'll just change my score to like a 40 and just make sure they're all different for everyone to feel better about it, I guess.
I'm giving it a 2 because Melvin is my dad.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 5 so that at Seppuku Goku will not yell at us on Twitter and say our scores are too similar.
They still making more of these, by the way? Didn't they announce like 3 different dumb money like movies? Like
there was like I think maybe like a series. I don't know. It's fucking. They did the documentary again. I'd suggest watching it. It is pretty interesting if you don't know a ton about it. Even if you do, it's interesting. Next week we'll be doing The Creator, which I already have my tickets. I'm insanely excited for The Creator. The hype around The Creator is crazy. I hope it lives up to it. We don't see any. There's no like firm full reviews yet. Like the full review embargo has not lifted, but the shit people are saying about this movie is like crazy. So yeah, I'm very gassed up to see it. A 2 hour and 13 minute long big like release is so rare. It's kind of crazy,
especially right now.
Yeah. So we're doing The Creator next week. Make sure if you're watching, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment below what you think about Dumb Money if you went and saw it. For Gooch and Kenjack, I'm Jeff DeLow. We'll talk to you next time.